Well, I couldn't hope for a better setting and a better context setting as well for my presentation than what we've had today. Where I start as a teacher of Scottish dancing from Moscow is that what's natural for my senior teachers up north of this island might not quite be as natural for me further eastwards. And I have a short video to show to you. It was filmed in Moscow, and the dancer is Russian, but the speaker is originally from Aberdeen, as well as Francis Peacock.
The arm should be held naturally, slightly in front of the body, but a softness in the elbow, not hyperextended. And the head can turn to address the working foot.
So we're dealing with the Scottish step dancing style, which really needs clarification for me. To be able to teach and explore it in a different context, I really needed to understand what they mean these days by natural. And I thought starting in 1805 might be a good idea. So, but then, of course, I realized that we have to start a bit earlier. So, a bit of Latin. All art is the imitation of nature. Seneca lived a bit earlier than ever, and he was quoting from somebody else. He was quoting from Aristotle, I believe, who in his Poetics started from arguing with his teacher, quite naturally, that imitation is not a bad thing, that imitation is a natural thing. He was talking about poetry, about tragedy, and then some Latin philosophers thought that all artistic activities are, can be seen as the imitation. And Francis Peacock, writing in Aberdeen, after a very successful career as a dance teacher, says that quotes from somebody else writing almost 100 years before him that all dancing is an imitation of nature in its highest excellence. And at the time when nature is most agreeable. Yes, and we have Peacock's own words, that all things, all components of dancing derive their principles from nature. So being natural is partly following the laws the nature prescribes. What I did to prepare for today's speech is looking through Peacock's sketches and seeing what adjectives go well with natural, what adjectives follow like in the same category, and what go to the opposite. If you look a bit closer, you will see that these adjectives that go well with being natural can be grouped in a certain way. So one group is things are natural because we're born with them. They genetically, let's say. And these can be defects or talent or natural fine form. Natural is also something that looks natural, which may require cultivation, which may require a work of a dancing master, the professional. And Peacock, as a professional, thinks that in most cases it does require. And then natural can also be, as I told before, something that follows the certain rules, the mechanics of nature, a certain logical algorithm that can be seen. This is my favorite quote of Francis Peacock, because he's talking about Scottish national dance. And the important bit for me is that in 1805 he already thought that Scotland has a national dance heritage, which is not really obvious because they borrow from different traditions and it was just dancing in Scotland basically. But he says that Scottish national dances, especially the reel, have a variety of natural and brilliant steps, which seldom fail to please.
1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
I mean, how can that be natural? How can that possibly be natural? It can be natural because it looks easy, and as a performer and a teacher, I've come across plenty of situations where they say, oh, Scottish dancing, oh, it's so easy, come on. And then they start doing it and they think, oh, it's so horribly hard. It looks easy, it requires a lot of work. And also, it uses the principle, the mechanical principles that the nature describes. Walking, yeah, and Peacock builds on Weaver quite a lot. So it can appear natural to some, but actually a graceful manner of walking is acquired, not natural. So it's not inborn, it requires cultivation. So how did it work for him? I think the best analogy would probably English landscape design, which became dominant in the middle of the 18th century, as opposed to the really well-regulated French garden, where you have a lot of straight lines, a lot of geometrical shapes. This should look natural. And I have an illustration from Red Books by a famous landscape designer of the 18th century, where we have two pictures. This one is before his work, this one is after. So, quite a popular concept on Facebook these days, right? But it all started in the 18th century. What was before, what is after. So, you can see that the resulting picture, it looks really natural, agreeable, easy, a lot of curves, a lot of nice lines. But can you imagine the amount of work to, bring down all the hills, dig this lovely, I'm not sure, lake or channel or whatever it is, and actually make it curve? That's a little bit like dancing. So you do a lot of digging, you do a lot of horrible, painful work, and then it looks natural. This is another aspect of it. Natural, instinctive, we got it from nature, and used by everyone without their being sensible of it. Peacock is actually saying about something already mentioned today, the ducks, and our way of walking, transferring the body weight from one foot to another. And his conclusion is, this can't be deemed a fault as long as it is not too apparent. This is, I guess, a very British thing. As long as it is not too much, everything is fine, without their being sensible of it. This really might be a result. I mean, if you train as a dancer and you do something for a very, very long time, then you just listen to some music and you start moving. And it does feel natural. Although you might remember that there was quite a lot of work done to achieve this state, but it does feel almost instinctive, doesn't it? Thank you very much.